Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, this bill was read for the first time on this floor on Wednesday, 15th of May, 2025. The armed forces of Nigeria remain the cornerstone of our sovereignty and national security. They have stood gallantly in defense of our nation, from combating insurgency and terrorism to peacekeeping across Africa. However, the existing Armed Forces Act, rooted in a 1960s military decree and last consolidated in 2004, no longer meets today's realities. The constitutional, operational, and global defense environment has evolved, but our military law has not kept pace. Constitutional alignment and human rights. The bill upholds the supremacy of the Constitution and integrates fair hearing and due process into military justice. It corrects such provision as Section 173, ensuring that administrative reports like boards of inquiry no longer serve as convictions without trial. 2, child protection and international obligations. It prohibits enlistment of persons below 18 years, aligning Nigeria with the Child Rights Act and international humanitarian standards. 3, clear chain of command. It enforces the President's constitutional authority as Commander-in-Chief while vesting day-to-day operational command in the Chief of Defense Staff, eliminating ambiguities and strengthening civilian oversight. 4, modernized military justice. The bill redefines offenses, ensures proportionate punishment, and criminalizes undue command interference in court martial, guaranteeing independence and fairness within the system. 5, legal empowerment and institutional efficiency. Qualified military lawyers will now be able to represent the armed forces in civil courts, reducing legal costs and delays. A dedicated litigation fund will support this. 6, economic realism and morale. Outdated fines like 200 naira or 500 naira are replaced with percentage-based penalties tied to salary levels. The bill also extends protections and rights to non-commissioned officers to boost morale and fairness. Many democracies, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, including the United States, United Kingdom, and South Africa, have modernized their military laws to ensure justice, accountability, and professionalism. Nigeria cannot afford to lag behind. This bill, therefore, places our military legal system in step with global best practices and strengthens our reputation in international peacekeeping and defense cooperation. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the Armed Forces Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2025 is not just a legal update. It is a statement of our national commitment to a disciplined, professional, and accountable military. It guarantees justice within the ranks, enhances command efficiency, and aligns our armed forces with constitutional and international standards. I respectfully urge my distinguished colleagues to support this bill for second reading as we collectively strengthen one of Nigeria's most vital institutions. Mr. President, I so move.
Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume, representing Borno South. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand to second the lead debate as presented by the Chairman Ami, and the presentation, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, has aptly captured the reason and the background behind this repeal and reenactment bill on the Armed Forces Act Cap A20. As he said, Mr. President, it's a long time and there is a need to, as we evolve in our democracy, we also align all other laws, especially the armed forces, to be in line with modern democracy, rule of law. This is what this bill is trying to do, to update the laws, subject the armed forces to civil rule, and also improve on human rights, protection, and others, and efficiency. So I urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this very important bill.
I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Mr. President, distinguished senators, what this bill essentially seeks to do or achieve, or the lacuna that it seeks to cure, is that one, it desires to bring our military laws not only in tandem with international best practice, but to bring it in consonance with universally acceptable democratic principles. One of peer hearing. For example, what this bill seeks to achieve is that reports of boards of inquiry set off by military authorities should not serve as a basis for conviction, but rather it should be subjected to a trial by a court of law before such conviction shall be upheld. Because as it is, it violates the principles of nemo judice in causa sua. You cannot be a judge in your own cause. So this is a very fundamental principle of law that what this bill seeks to achieve. And then the other arm is the enlistment of persons below the age of 18, which is now allowed under the military law as it is now. This bill seeks to clearly state that people that are below the age of 18 cannot be enlisted into the armed forces. And then this bill also seeks to subject military authorities to the command of the commander-in-chief, that is democratically elected president, or in a nutshell, subjects military authorities to the authority of democratically elected institutions so that they cannot be masters of themselves. So essentially, this bill is very, very important, and I urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill with the spirit of light. Thank you.
Senator, President, and distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, I would just like to deviate a little bit in asking the chairman of Army, in amending this law, in supporting this debate, I would like him to look into the courses, the military courses. Because once somebody, for example, that the new chief of army staff is course 41, all the people in course 40, 39, 40, they are gone. And we spend a lot of money training these military people. I want, in amending this law, I want them to bring at any time the commander-in-chief wants to appoint a chief of army staff, chief of naval staff, you should go by their courses. This was caused also by last administration, where they left one man to be chief, and we lost about 6 courses on the stretch. So in repealing and re-enacting this bill, I would like the committee to look into these courses. Like they just appointed the chief of naval staff, chief of air staff, and chief of army is course 41. All the people in the Navy, in the Army, and in the Air Force, they are gone. And we have spent a lot of money training these generals. This is Nigerian people's money. So we must maintain that if we want to appoint course 40, every course should be entitled to be chief of army staff, or chief of air staff, or chief of defense staff. They should not go down to take somebody and making about 200-300 generals are retiring for nothing's sake. They all have 7-8 years to stay in the thing. So, Mr. President, I would like to appeal seriously that this will be amended also, so that Nigerian army will be one army, will be one people, will be one voice, will be one cause in NDA as they do it. I rest my case, Mr. President.
Senator Ojikalu, they know that very more than us vis-a-vis the powers of Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces. When you say commander, he has a latitude to appoint at all points, he so wishes, based on the security of the country. So we need to marry this together. Well, no, we're not debating. I'm just saying.
I have to just give you information. The information I'm giving you is
not
advising the Commander-in-Chief. It's not anything. Because Commander-in-Chief might not know. And
I've not recognized you. I've not recognized you. You can sit down. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm just saying, when you get to this period, we need to marry these two together. Get the military, let them be involved in enacting the law, so that we look at the authority of the CNC as well as the tradition of the military. So let's not, because we are not military experts, they understand their tradition. Senator Samson Ekon.
That underpins this bill. It seeks to create a framework of human rights in our military law and make the system to align with the nuances of democracy. It articulates to me a very profound principle of reform, and readily I support it. The time has come for us to deepen our framework of policy. What has been a setback to us is that sometimes we drive politics and not policy. With this kind of systemic approach, we will have an entrenchment. We will have a culture of reform that aligns with the best practices. I am very thrilled by the nuances of fair hearing that have been fully contemplated in this bill. It's very important that the principles of fair hearing, that the principles of our constitutional process be fully followed. So on behalf of Akwa Ibom South, I throw my weight behind this bill as part of a wider process of reform that will deepen the content of our military law and jurisprudence. Thank you.
A bill for an act to repeal the Armed Forces Act and to reenact a modern, constitutionally compliant and operationally responsive legal framework for the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and for related matters 2025, SB 791, second reading taken. The bill is referred to the Committee on Defense, Army, Air Force, and Navy to report back within 4 weeks. Let me commend Senator Eradua for bringing forward this bill. Everything in life is fluid. There's nothing that's permanent. Things change from time to time, and so our laws also should change. Our regulations in respect to any aspect of our lives should also, be modernized. So I think it's in order to look at this art, to get it modernized in tune with modernity. We need just to do that, not only in respect to the military, but all spheres of our lives, of our national undertakings, so as to modernize our system, to go in tune with contemporary happenings in the world, in line with international best practice. So I commend, on behalf of the Senate, Senator Eradua for bringing forward this bill. Leader of the Senate.